or no, Plan Commission, sorry. So, yeah, I'd say we can get started with that.
I'd like to call to order the June 9th, 2022 Plan Commission meeting. Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Aletsky.
Present.
Brink.
Here.
Dargis Johnson.
Here.
Culhane.
Here.
And Dolly, Hanson, Kays, Ford, and Spire are absent. We have a quorum. And we also have the council liaison, Randy Tepper, with us.
Thank you. Third item on the agenda is invitation for public comment participant submittal. If there's anything not on the agenda that someone from the public wishes to talk about, there will be time at the end. Just ask that you let Brandy know before we get to the end of the meeting. So, fourth item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Could I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Fifth item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. 5A is approval of the minutes from the May 5th meeting. Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 5B is approval of the minutes from May 19th. Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 6 on the agenda is our regular agenda. It's commission consideration of resolution 2022-28. It's an amendment to the G1 district. Brandy, will you take over, please?
Yes. Thank you, Jeff. And so this is the GT one, the Gateway Overlay District. So this ordinance amendment is because we have seen a lot of variance requests for this transitional yard that is incorporated into this portion of the ordinance. The Gateway Overlay District is over on the east side of town, general proximity just to the east of 19th Street and north of Highway 212, and then goes over to 31st Street, and that's southeast. So just when we see a consistent variance being asked for, just getting it cleaned up. This is a simple fix. The only thing that's changing, we left when industrial and residential abuts, we left that at 20 feet for the transitional yard, which for greater context is the area in the side yard from the property boundary that must remain grassed or a vegetated area where you're not putting your structure, your parking, anything like that. So we are reducing a majority of these different type of uses from 10 feet to 5 feet. And that's the variance that's been consistently asked for as well. And then with commercial and residential, also just reduce that to 15 feet, just because it's not as impactful as industrial would be. So to try to, and there's not a lot of opportunity in these areas of how they're zoned today that you would have industrial abutting residential or even commercial. There's a small window of properties that would actually be affected by this. So, but just trying to be progressive with if those applications would come in. And then I did add in here too, so the transitional yard shall extend the entire length of each respective property boundary, with the exception that access driveways between interior lot lines may be allowed in transitional yards. Access driveways shall conform to the engineering design standards. And that's just so when you're getting, so you can get a little interior traffic flow as well, so they're not having to go into the street. The idea behind it though is just that it's a controlled access point and you're not getting complete sea of concrete parking lots that are conjoining and overlapping into each other. So just that there's controlled access points. And then also that fences or other, this wasn't clear before, but just to add it in there while we're making an amendment to this portion, that fences or other screening devices may be located within transitional yards. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I think I speak for the whole board. I really do appreciate when things like this get cleaned up. You know, we hate granting variances with the thought that they will change, which we knew this one was in the works. So I appreciate you doing that. And to me, it meets what we had talked about previously by, you know, the intent was for a lot of these for it to be 10 feet, but if you got 5 on both properties, that equals 10. So I don't have any other questions for you. Does anyone from the board have any questions?
And just to provide further context with that too, Jeff,
There's a spider over here.
is that if you guys recall, we had this in front of the Plan Commission for review, but we were looking at the entire ordinance at that time, which then we wanted to do some more investigating, looking into different portions, but then we kind of came back to, let's just fix what's broken, and the rest of it, you know, seems to be working. So that can be something that we look at in the future, but just wanted to get the what we've been seeing as problematic, or just to get that in the book.
Brandy, do you have it real handy what the overlay is? Just, could you flick that up?
Yeah.
And then show what is industrial and commercial? Do you have the zoning real handy?
Yep, I do. Yeah, thank
Perfect.
you.
Just to show us.
Yep, let me just.
Does that include them homes on the south side of Highway 212 that's across the street from the area we're talking about?
Nope, it does not. As long as, can you ask that again? I wasn't
The
fully paying
district's all on
attention.
the north side of 212.
Okay. But I
Overlay
was just
district.
thinking the residential homes, that those are in change.
And while she pulls that up, I will open the
So-
public hearing. If there is anyone that wishes to speak on this item, please feel free to approach the mic.
The teal hatched boundary is the Gateway Overlay District. So you can see where the only areas are these really where residential and commercial will abut. And the good thing about these properties as well is that this is their rear yard. So that would be 30 feet. It would be required to be 30 feet anyway. And a lot of the times you don't get the parking in the back where they actually push the building further to the south. So, yeah.
So there's nothing industrial there now?
No. No, it's just in there with the possibility that if there ever was, because the Gateway Overlay was created before the Lakes of Willow Creek was developed.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because I didn't remember there being industrial in there, so.
Yep. And actually, before this was rezoned, and I believe it was in 2021, there were some industrial portions here, so.
But at that time, it wasn't Gateway District, was it? Or was it
It
still?
was. It just was
Okay.
undeveloped still.
Randy, I got a quick question. So if any of that were to ever be rezoned as residential, then that would fall under the residential guidelines then, right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other comments or questions from anyone in the public? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion and a second from the board.
I'll move to approve resolution number 28.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, do a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. 7th item on the agenda is open public comment. I do not believe you received any.
Nope.
All right, moving on to item 8 is new business. Do we have any new business to discuss?
None that I have.
Seeing none over here. Item 9 is old business. Do we have any old business?
Nope.
Seeing none over here also. Item 10 is executive session. Do we have any reason to go into that?
Nope.
All right. Number 11 is adjournment. I will adjourn us.
All right, thank you, and we'll stay tuned for Board of Adjustment. And Hanson has joined us. He was able to call in, so we'll be ready to get that rolling whenever. What's that? No. The liaison was. Oh. Okay. And it might have changed because we did change our, well, we looked at that ordinance amendment of like voting members and all of that, so. And then, but then with Hanson now we'll have 5. Which is our quorum.
Meeting, could I get a roll call, please?
Yes, Aletsky.
Present.
Brink.
Here.
Dargis Johnson.
Here.
Colhane.
Here.
And Hanson.
Here.
And Dolly, Ford, Spire, and Kays are absent. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 19th meeting. Can I get a motion in a second?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from May 19th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All,
Aye.
thank you. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Fourth item on the agenda is it's a regular agenda. 4A is board consideration of a conditional use, a request for a home occupation. Brandy, will you take over, please?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. So this property is located at 312 North Broadway. And here I have it pulled up on the map for reference. It is zoned R3 multifamily residential, but it is existing as a single-family home. And I can zoom out a little bit just for greater reference. And so they're asking for a conditional use for a home occupation to provide a pet grooming service out of their home. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Thank you. Do you know, is there any request to have employees at all, or will this be strictly run by the occupant of the home?
They are not allowed to have employees, and I've discussed that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll open the public hearing and ask you to come up to the mic and state your name for the record. So, yeah. No.
I'm Chris Paulson.
Sarah Paulson.
Well, thank you.
Right here.
So,
Sit on that.
and so they're, by rule, you can't have employees. That's
Okay. Yep,
yeah,
it's
that's-
just the two of us.
Okay, perfect. Another question I had is, will you have any need for the animals to be outside at all, or will this all be an inside operation?
It's on site.
Yeah.
I see that you want to put in another driveway. Where,
Some we've considered, if need be, possibly right on Broadway there, but it's nothing we've set on yet.
so they'll be dropping off the pets and stuff in the back and then bringing them up to the house, or will you be grooming them in the garage in the back?
No, they'll be coming in the front.
In the front door?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We kind of figured it'd be too much parking back in that alley, gets a lot of traffic, so
Yeah.
it'd be tough having people parked back there.
And that would be, so if they wanted to do another curb cut, that would be, they'd get a engineering permit to include that driveway. And
Okay, sure. Yeah.
And then, is it kind of by appointment? Is that how the business will
Yeah.
operate?
Yeah.
Do you have an estimate of how many customers you'll see in a day, or?
Probably 8 a day.
8 a day? Okay.
We've already been in business, we just want to move it into our house, since we've got the space,
Okay.
so.
Are you gonna put a sign on the front of the house?
If we can. We'd like to.
And they can, it just has to meet the square footage requirement, which it is small, but at least it allows you to have some visibility for your customers to know that they're at the right location.
Right.
So it's not necessarily for advertising,
Sure.
that it would have to be a wall sign on the house.
Okay.
Did you hear anything from the neighbors, Brandy?
Nope, I did not.
Is going to take place in the house or in the garage?
In the house.
In the
The
house.
house.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for the applicant while they're at the podium from the board members? Seeing none, I will ask, is there anyone else from the audience that wishes to speak in favor or against this item? Seeing none there, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion and a second.
I'll move to approve the conditional use. Colhane.
I'll make a second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on in the agenda, 4B.
Thank you.
Moving on in the agenda, 4B is consideration of a conditional use of a bar at Stony Point. Brandy, will you take over, please?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. So this is a conditional use request for a bar tavern located at 724 Stony Point Trail. The property is zoned C2 local commercial currently, and I'll pull it up here on the map. So this is the area where the current Stony Point condos exist. And if you recall, and I have this in the staff report, that in 2020 they received a list of conditional uses, including a restaurant, condo apartment with parking garages, rooftop event venue, beach bunkers, and swimming pool, which a lot of those actually aren't even a conditional use request. So the bar tavern, though, was not included on that list, so that is why it's before you to ask for that conditional use to be granted on the property. And obviously something that we always look at with a bar tavern request is the parking. And so when the building plans for this project were reviewed, they showed the restaurant bar area, so it's utilizing the same space, same square footage. So that was all accounted for in the initial review of the parking. And restaurants and bar tavern have the same requirement. So it's 1 per 150 square feet of gross floor area. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
So on the parking for this, will that be designated parking in the area, or it'll just be spotty all over in the big parking lot, wherever that's gonna be?
So, and the applicant is here too, that if we want to open the public hearing and he can answer those questions. There is outdoor parking.
Yeah.
Off-street parking adjacent to the building.
Yeah.
Brandy, is the conditional use only for that, like, it looks to be like two odd platted lots? Is it only for that exterior lot?
It's actually just for the property's entirety. It really could be the interior of the building, except for if they are serving in the, so the lots here, that is showing the building footprint because it was condo platted.
Okay. And then that makes, I just was curious because looking at page 17 of the agenda, I just wasn't sure if that had any significance, but it's for the entire property.
Yep.
Okay.
Because then it will, yeah, this is just showing the condo plat and the building footprint, so.
What, just for my clarification, what's the difference between our restaurant and our bar tavern? Like, can restaurants sell drinks or how does that differ?
Yeah, and that, it actually, and I can pull up the definitions, but it says, for food and beverage, but where we get into wanting to differentiate between restaurant and bar and tavern is really with the tying a liquor license or malt beverage to it. So if a restaurant wants to be selling on sale malt beverage or liquor, then they would have to have the bar tavern with it. So
like a restaurant like Buffalo Wild Wings has a bar tavern, conditional use.
conditional use.
Okay,
Hope-
thank you.
hopefully.
Yeah, that, I just wanted to kind of clarify that. That's kind of how I remember it too, but this just kind of came up before in the past. So.
Yeah, because it does seem customary that a restaurant would have the ability to serve alcohol as well.
And I will open the public hearing if there is anyone that wishes to speak in favor or against this item. Please feel free to do so. Approach the mic and state your name for the record.
Okay, thank you. Bob Drake. I just wanted to say, when we did the application before, we forgot the word bar. We said drinks, mixed drinks, that thing, but the word bar was not in there, so that's why we're here again.
Thank you.
And here I pulled up the definition just for everyone's reference, that the restaurant establishment providing food service to patrons where food and or drink is ordered and consumed on premise, taken out or delivered to customer's location. So it doesn't have the incidental use of alcohol, alcoholic beverages tied to it. So that's where it's at today.
No, I appreciate that. And I, at least in my mind, I think this is kind of another clerical adjustment. I think when we approved it the first time, at least in my mind, I was envisioning the bar and stuff that was presented before us. But I don't mean to speak for anyone else, but I appreciate you bringing these type of things back to us and make sure we do it right. But is there anyone else while the public hearing is still open that wishes to speak in favor or against this item? Is there any other questions from any board members?
I do, just because, so you say the existing, to be located in the existing condo structure? Oh, okay. How come I was thinking that you were building a separate restaurant area or?
There is a.
I'm gonna have
So
to ask.
I just don't want to have you come back if
No
it's.
problem. So in the current condo structure on the main floor, there is a restaurant bar area designated with a kitchen across from it
Right.
in this phase one.
Okay.
And in phase two, there may or may not be. So,
okay,
depending upon
okay.
how it all goes. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I
Is
just
it
didn't know if
tied
that
in,
was-
is it gonna be tied in like with the swim-up bar and stuff, that whole area?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
So you walk out the restaurant, and I think the 19th we're going to have a big open house, so everybody can come check it all out. But yeah, so you walk from the restaurant right on out into that pool area or bar area. Yep. Yep.
If you do the other part of it, phase two, then you'll be back up here for that again? Or don't they have to? bring it?
That portion actually was included so they were separate actions for the conditional uses. They were granted that conditional use in 2021 for that portion because that's the property that was also rezoned to the CL.
So we're just cleaning up at this point?
Yep.
Perfect.
I will close the public hearing. Ask for a motion in a second.
Motion to approve?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion from the board members? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to the agenda, item 4C is board consideration of a conditional use request for a boathouse on South Lake Drive. Brandy, will you take over, please?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. So this is a conditional use request for a boathouse at 1018 South Lake Drive. The owner is Dan Gabriel, and currently on the property, there's an existing boathouse. And so he's planning on building a new residence where then he's wanting to shift the boathouse closer to the east property line. The elevation, and let me pull up the agenda to give you guys better context there. So this site plan here shows the existing boathouse and then how it will be shifted to the east property line, still conforming to the 9-foot side yard setback. And and the applicant is here so he can speak in greater detail on it, but the existing elevation of the boathouse and its height isn't going to change. It's just moving it further to the east. And so since that is We have that in ordinance about a boathouse needs a conditional use. Obviously, to give any neighboring properties that might be impacted by any change to a boathouse, being that it is closer to the lake shore and the front property line. That's why it's before you today. I wanted to, so you can see here, this is an ordinance of the boathouse provision here, where you look at these items when issuing or hearing a conditional use for a boathouse. So I'll show you guys a couple other images that the applicant provided. So this is the existing condition of, and with the footprint of the new house, and then this would be the proposed plan of having that shifted. And you can see with this section elevation, and then the applicant did provide additional pictures if there's more questions, but at that, I'll open it up for the board.
Is the existing boathouse have a flat roof like the new one will?
Yes.
So it's gonna be just like the existing one, just better placement?
Yes, and I believe they'll have to demo the existing boathouse just because of it wouldn't be able to maybe be shifted, so it will be a new construction, but
Is it gonna be above the flood zone?
that I am not sure. But if it is not, they would have to do venting, because it's a non-residential structure. So they could do flood vents, and we'll get into that in greater detail when they get into their building permit phase. But yeah, if it is not, which I almost think it might be, but then we could do venting.
Because the new house, the existing house, is that in a flood zone or not?
Oh, let's get that pulled up.
This is that area down by the old Sunny side, right?
Yeah, so
Is that where we're
no,
at? It's pretty
the-
low down there. Cool.
yep.
But it kind of looks like the boathouse might be. No, maybe just the tip of it.
Yeah, and depending on, where they end up placing that, if they do move it back, or if
Yeah.
they're able, if they're able to elevate it enough where it's out, then they wouldn't have to. But you can do the flood venting for a non-residential structure, and that just upholds the integrity of the building if it were to have water come in, and it's all wet flood proofed and whatnot. So.
But if we raise it, then aren't we back to the problem of blockage to the lake view?
Actually, this property is significantly higher, and if the applicant's okay, I can pull up those pictures.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll open up the public hearing if the applicant wishes to approach and speak on behalf of the item.
But right now, it looked like from that one that you showed us, that it's going to be almost even with the lot. It's not gonna have a peaked roof or anything,
Nope.
right?
Flat roof.
Yeah.
Can you
Just
please
like it
state your
currently
name
is.
for the record?
Oh, I'm Dan Gabriel.
Thank you.
My fear is,
The owner of the property?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
my fear with the boathouse, Dan, just so you know, we've had other issues with, all of a sudden it's way higher than it was allowed to be, and, there we sit, and, yeah.
Well, we have no interest in raising it or putting a peaked roof on it because it would impact our view from our house. And we did speak to both neighbors. The ones of concern were the ones to the east of us, and they told us they have no concern whatsoever because they can't hardly see it. And I sent some pictures, and you can see a lake view. I went into he gave me permission to come into their yard and take pictures, so.
Yeah, that's good.
So this would be a picture from right out in the lake, and you can see their house is higher than the roof of the boathouse.
Potentially the roof of the house.
Yeah.
So are you going to, I see that you have that concrete retaining wall. Are you still going to have a concrete retaining wall
Yes.
for the new landscaping and stuff?
Our plan is to remove the whole retaining wall and make it one height about,
Right here.
yeah, about the height of where that, way over to the right side of the picture. So, and then we'll grade the yard up to the road. So this would be from our neighbor's front yard. This is the west corner of the front of their house.
Right here.
Yep.
So then we'll get back. Yeah.
And then if you go up one, this would be from the east corner of the front lake side of their house. And that red thing back there, that was our neighbor's awning for their boat lift on the west side of us. So, and then I think I took some down by the shore. Yeah, this would be, they have a raised, or a patio right out where their yard starts sloping down. You can just see the roof. And then I went down in the dock and, yeah,
So that's the structure there.
that's the structure.
So are you redeveloping the whole lot, getting rid of the house, the garage, the shed, the existing boathouse? You're getting rid of all of that and building new?
We want to get rid of the house and the garage. We want to keep the shed because it's an authentic Model A garage.
Okay.
And it looks cool. We'd like to keep it. And we will recondition it once our house is done. But the garage and the house are going to go. And the boathouse we want to shift over. And it's about 29 feet 4 inches from the pin, the boathouse currently. So we'd have 20 feet to move it to the east and have a larger front yard towards the lake, and it'll improve our view obviously too.
Well, I appreciate you did your homework, because otherwise it'd have been a big fat no from me. Because you just have to protect the next person out there. That
Sure.
We just have issues with that, so.
And I did not hear from any of the neighboring properties. And, we send the letters out and whatnot, and,
Put the sign up.
yep.
Are there any other questions for the applicant while he's at the podium?
I appreciate the pictures and the drawing. I mean, that just makes our decisions so much easier, because we see that, there's not gonna be a second story on the boathouse, and pretty soon people
Yeah.
can't see, and we have issues, so.
The public hearing is still open. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor or against this item? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion and a second from the board.
I'll move to approve the conditional use.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on the agenda, item 4D is board consideration of a conditional use request and for a variance, both at 1809 11th Street, 11th Avenue, excuse me, thank you. Brandy, will you please take over?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. Let me get up to, or actually, I just need to go down to that item. So if you recall, we looked at this application at the previous meeting on May 19th for the consideration of a caretaker's residence and and then a variance setback for a storage unit / caretaker's residence structure. And the reason why we postponed action and actually had the applicant rescind the application, and then we republished and renoticed for it to be heard at this meeting, was to allow a little flexibility with setbacks, being that where the discussion landed at the previous meeting was the board having the being inclined to have the structure be closer to the west property line if the doors were to open towards the towards the east. And so this Russ Ronke, the owner and applicant, provided this updated site plan to show that it would be 20 feet off of 19th Street West, and then 25 feet off of 11th Avenue South still. And so that, but nothing was published, so you guys have a little more flexibility of what the allowed setback will be. This property is zoned I-1. It will be conjoined with the adjacent property that the owner and applicant also owns. So it'll be replatted to be one property. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this, like you said, was at our last meeting, and we talked about it in great depth before ultimately we decided that maybe we didn't want to vote on it, because if it were to be denied, they'd have to wait 6 months, whereas if they rescinded it and came back with a different drawing, then it could be acted on in the next meeting. I will open the public hearing if there's anyone that wishes to speak in favor or against this item. The applicant is here, and if he wants us to talk, he can, or if we have any questions, we can ask him. I mean,
I'll just add one more thing too. He did show a proposed garage up here just through discussion. That is something that doesn't have to be acted on today because it could follow the inline provision. So, and two, this would be kind of considered more of side yards back here, so.
Yep, Russ Ronke. Yeah, I think after looking at everything, probably works better that way. We've already got lights and security cameras pointing to where they would be coming in, so it's probably a good thing. So, you know, we have the new legal would be the West 261, a lot 1 is block 6 would include the whole 261 and 450 that we own there.
Yep.
And which probably should have done a long time ago, but yeah, it's anyway, and we showed where there's going to be a fence around it, so it'll be pretty good.
And you don't have to, the replatting is usually at the time of building permit issuance, so this is the time to get it cleaned up, so.
Yep. Yep.
But the driveway's gonna be from the south for both of the buildings and everything, right?
Yeah, there's a ingress egress on the north side that we're in discussion whether we will or will not, because the owner to the north isn't such.
Is there an easement in place right now?
Yeah, it's a perpetual easement for ingress and egress.
And then this will be hard surfaced, right?
Yes.
Both sides of both buildings, or how does that work? Because there's doors on either side, right?
Yeah.
Of the existing?
We're planning if that would be a 10-foot around the building, and then in between the buildings would be hard surfaced.
And that is a requirement that, and actually for how the standards are today, now we can't necessarily go back and retrofit the existing building, but for the new structure, it would be all loading, parking, and access is required to be hard surfaced. So the parking for a storage unit is actually just, you can either have it, you can say that it's in the garage or in the unit or out, and so that's where a lot of the times you see at least an 18-foot pad in front of the building that makes for nice clean ingress and egress. You're not tracking, people are able to get to their units in wet times. And we'll make sure, we'll review that when Russ submits for the building permit and the site plan to make sure that all of that is covered.
and one of the conditions we were thinking about last meeting was requiring the doors on the proposed building to be on the east side. You're good with that condition?
Yeah, that's what I said,
Yep.
it probably works out better.
Just want to make sure. Is there any other questions for the applicant while he's up here?
No, I just wanted for the record, as I said last time, I'm not in favor of caretaker residences. So I just want to be on the record for saying that again. Thank you.
It's okay. Everybody has to have an opinion.
Yeah. I love you though, that's why you're getting, no, I'm kidding.
All right.
The reason you are getting, in my opinion, is because you are surrounded by residential. That is the difference in this one, but
Right.
when we are putting them in other areas, I don't like
Thank
that.
you.
But
Do we need to do, Chair, like findings of fact on this? We give them the variance, or what do you?
Yeah, that would be a good thing to do before we vote on the variance. We will vote on the conditional use first and then the variance. And I guess, is there anyone else that wishes to speak on behalf or against this item?
I might just add one more thing for context. The building official and I had talked about this, where for that front yard setback on adjacent to 11th, we could use inline provision. Being that he was coming here for the east or the west property line anyway, figured it would just be cleanest to have it be acted on as a variance request for that south side as well. Because that would put him at the inline provision aspect. They're actually 15 feet. But also with the Clearview Triangle and everything, 25 feet at that corner is more appropriate. So it would still be 25 feet from the south would be the setback for where the structure would begin.
I will close the public hearing. So we have two action items on this. The first is for the conditional use, which is the caretaker's residence on this property. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Remind me real quick, what was the discussion as it related to screening on the west side? Or is it required because it's adjacent to residential?
If there's any outdoor storage,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember there was some discussion of it. And Todd isn't here, and I know he was kind of leading the discussion last
I
time.
think we decided that the solid wall was kind of suffice for.
Okay.
that it would provide that screening. Yeah, and if there's any outdoor storage that's adjacent to residential, then that needs screening.
So that was on that, kind of that, perhaps the north portion of that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Understood.
Thank you. No, good question.
I mean, there may be, up there, I might have some projects that I'd have, but there's gonna be a fence all the way around it, so
Sounds good.
I always have to have a project.
Any other comments about the conditional use? Hearing none, we'll do a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next is the variance on this. So I will ask for a motion and a second for the variance as well.
So moved.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I just kind of want to point out, I'm glad we are moving the building a little bit farther west and then putting the doors on the east so that there isn't constant in and out and headlights, to the properties to the west. I think that helps me at least support this variance, and I think it does for others too. I think that's why we were more willing to go with a 20-foot than what was previously proposed as 25.
In the solid wall too,
In the solid wall.
across the street, not right up to them.
Did you guys make a motion for the variance already? Because
Yes.
if you want to maybe just point out those specifics in the motion to say, the 20-foot variance on on the west property line, I keep saying east, with the condition that the doors, just to be very clear of what all will be conditioned, that the doors will face to the east.
Did I make the motion or did I?
You made the motion, so.
Just to clarify the motion, that was contingent on the doors being east facing. And what else were we supposed to do? 20 feet from the lot, yeah. And that was actually more than what you had requested the first time, I think. But this was based on, the other thing that I think is based on is that as the lot sits now, it's a peculiar size and given the frontage issues, this justified a variance. And I think that the solution that the city and staff came up with is the least restrictive alternative that we could come up with. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. We have an adjusted motion. Do I have an adjusted second?
Yes, you do.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Is there any other further discussion before we vote on this item? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on the agenda.
Big
Thank you.
project, Russ.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I think, like I said, I think everything worked out better. Thank you guys for bringing that up, and especially thank for Brandy for doing all the work for me.
Well, thanks for your
You guys have a
patience.
great day.
Thanks, guys.
Item 5 on the agenda is open public comment. I don't even know if we have any publics left. Guessing there's none then. Item 6 is new business. Do we have any new business?
No.
Any from the board? Doesn't look like it. Item 7 is old business. Any old business?
Nope.
Doesn't look like it from us either. Item 8 is motion to adjourn. Can I get a motion in a second?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.